Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're currently taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. My apologies for the lack of Q&A that went out last week. I was in the middle of a move, as you can see. This is my new office, my new YouTube studio. It's still a little bit in disarray, a little bit empty at the moment. So over the next few weeks, you'll probably see a few more photos in the background, some more office stuff in the background as well. So bear with me as we finish up this move. But the move happened on Thursday, July 4th, and it's been going on for the last week and a half. We're getting there. There's still a lot of work to do, but unfortunately, I couldn't put out the Q&A this week because my place was in complete disarray. I couldn't even find my computer, but now I'm back. So let's get started. There's quite a few questions to get through, so I'm going to get through as many as I can today, and I will upload a new Q&A later on this week. All right, so let's start off with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. Could you please explain the proper way to do walking lunges to me? I see people stop in the middle of each rep, but I'm not sure if I should stop in the middle or keep going from one leg to the other. Good question. So this will depend on the type of lunge you are doing. Okay. So when you talk about walking lunges, well, there's actually many different types of walking lunges. You could be doing alternating walking lunges. You could be doing drag lunges to the left, drag lunges to the right. You could be doing spider lunges, double contraction lunges, static lunges. So it really depends on the type of lunge you're doing. But if you're just doing a basic alternating walking lunge, my recommendation is to lunge from one foot to the next. So what I mean by that is that you should not be stopping at all in the middle. You should be transitioning from one foot to the next foot to the next, just like you do when you're walking outside, right? You don't walk, stop from one leg to the other, right? So that's the way I recommend clients do lunges. Now, we do see people in the gym sometimes stopping in the middle. Well, why are they stopping in the middle? Usually because they need to rest. I would not advise doing that. You want to keep constant tension on the muscle bellies. In the case of a walking lunge, your primary muscle group being worked are your quadriceps, right? Your secondary muscles, glutes and hamstrings. If you stop in the middle, you're taking tension off those muscle bellies, okay? So I would not advise people to stop in the middle while doing lunges. Now, if you're doing a drag lunge to the left or drag lunge to the right, which is one leg forward the entire time, let's say you're doing 16 reps on the left leg forward and then 16 reps back on the right leg forward, yes, you're going to want to stop in the middle. But you have to remember, you're keeping constant tension on that left leg for 16 reps and in constant tension on the right leg on the back for 16 reps. So in that case, I can see where stopping in the middle would make sense. So it really depends on the type of lunge you're doing, okay? Spider lunges, same thing. You're going to alternate, left, right. You should not be stopping in between, right? Double contraction, same thing, okay? So the goal of a lunge is to keep constant tension on the muscle bellies being worked. As I mentioned, primary muscle group being the quadriceps, secondary be the hamstrings and glutes. So you want to take as little rest as possible during each set, okay? One more thing I will add to that, when you're doing walking lunges, my recommendation for everyone, this is crucial because I see this all the time in the gym. People doing walking lunges with heavy weights, and they're really lacking that range of motion. So you want to make sure when you're doing a walking lunge that your knee pretty much touches the ground, right? You don't have to bang your knee on the ground, but your knee should skim on the ground, right? And that way you're making sure you're using full range of motion. Okay, so don't take heavy weights if you cannot get your knee to the ground. If you can get the knee to the ground, definitely add some resistance, but never add resistance at the sake of losing form, okay? Form should always come first. So I just want to add that in because I see a lot of people in the gym doing lunges incorrectly. And the great thing with lunges is you don't have to lift super heavy weight to get the benefits of that exercise. You have to remember, it's what we call an isolateral movement. It's not a compound movement. It's not a squat. It's not a hack squat. It's not a leg press. It's a lunge. So you're going to get more benefit using full range of motion, lighter weights, perfecting your technique, perfecting your form, high repetitions, very little rest in between sets. And yeah, don't pause in the middle while you're doing alternating lunges. Keep going from one foot to the other. All right, next question. Nick, do you notice a difference in your clients who sleep more versus your clients who sleep less when it comes to their results? Another good question. Okay, so it's interesting because I have a lot of clients that perform really well on 5 to 6 hours of sleep. I put myself in that category as well. I never sleep more than 6 hours a night, ever. I'm actually lucky if I get 6 hours of sleep a night. I find if I sleep more than 6 hours for myself personally, I actually feel more sluggish. Okay. So there is a fine line for some people, right? Some people need more sleep. Some people need less sleep. I find though the people that don't sleep enough, as in like 3 to 4 hours a night, and I have quite a few people on my roster like that, those are the people that I notice their results suffer a little bit more. Why? Well, for one, when you're tired, as in overly exhausted, you can't train with the utmost amount of intensity, right? You're going to move a little bit more slower in the gym. You're going to lift a little bit lighter. You're going to take longer rest periods. So if you're not training with the utmost amount of intensity, well, that's going to reflect on the results you achieve with your physique and your health. Okay, so that's number one. Another thing I notice is when it comes to fat loss, people who are sleep deprived, they typically actually have a harder time losing fat. Now, there's a lot of theories behind this, but I've always come up with the concept that if your body is in a state of constant stress and sleep deprivation, your metabolism slows down. Okay. And what happens is your body holds on to fat, it kind of goes into survival mode. So your body's ability to burn fat is not nearly as efficient. So for those people who are sleeping that like 3 to 4 hours a night, and I have, like I said, I have quite a few of those guys on my roster and women, I notice it becomes a little bit more challenge for them to build muscle and to lose fat. Okay. But there's no exact number that I like to tell people to sleep. The generic rule of thumb is go for that 7 to 8 hours. Well, like I said, for some people, including myself, that's too much sleep, right? So you have to find a certain amount that works for you. Okay. So how do you know that? Well, judge by your workouts. Are you having good workouts? Or are you having shitty workouts? Right? How's your energy throughout the day? Not just in the gym when you're loaded up on caffeine and pre-workout, but throughout the day. And I've talked about this in the past, is that it's important that no matter what time of day it is, whether it's 6 a.m. or 6 p.m., your energy level should remain constant and consistent throughout the day. There should be no peaks and valleys. If you have peaks and valleys in energy and you're reliant on stimulants and pre-workout drinks and loading up on espresso and coffee, that's not good. Okay. So you need to get that in check. And a lot of times this comes down to not just the duration of your sleep, but the quality of your sleep, right? Are you in deep REM sleep? So that's very important too. Okay. So to answer that question, yes, I do notice a difference with people who are not sleeping enough versus people who are practicing proper sleep habits, going to bed at a reasonable hour, making sure that they're getting up at a reasonable hour, making sure that they're sleeping throughout the night. They're avoiding as much screen time before bed. They're not eating before bed because, as we know, those things can really disrupt sleep patterns, right? So I always advise clients that they can turn off all screens at least an hour before you go to bed. Try to have that last meal 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, so your digestive system's not working in overdrive, and that will allow you to go to sleep in a little bit more quicker fashion and also allow you to get a better quality of sleep and a deeper REM sleep. All right. Okay. Nick, what's the best way to bulk up? I know it's important to eat, but I can't just force feed myself 10 to 12 meals each day. Would high calorie mass gaining shakes be a good idea to add in for extra calories? Okay, so this will depend on a few things. A, you have to know what type of body type you are. Okay, so are you an ectomorph, someone who has a really hard time gaining muscle, but has a really easy time losing weight? Are you an endomorph, someone who has a really easy time putting on muscle, but has a really difficult time losing weight? Are you a mesomorph, someone who easily puts on muscle and easily drops weight, right? Or you could be a combination of the one or two, right? So here's the thing is once you figure out what type of body type you are, that's when you can start to put together a solid nutritional plan that will work specifically for you. Okay. So it's difficult for me to answer this question because I don't work with you. But let's say you're an ectomorph, someone who's having a hard time putting on weight, and you just, like you said, you have to force feed yourself to put on every ounce of weight. Okay. I was like that when I was younger, especially when I was a teenager. I had to force feed myself just to put on every ounce of muscle. And I'll tell you what, I actually did dabble in those mass gaining shakes, but I didn't like those mass gaining shakes because it was too many calories coming in at one specific time. And what happened then is I would get an upset stomach. I'd feel bloated. I'd feel lethargic. And what would happen is because I was gaining all these calories, and some of these mass gaining shakes that you're talking about, they're easily 1,500, 2,000 calories. That's way too many calories to be taken in one sitting. So your body's digesting all those calories, and a lot of those calories are just going to get wasted. Okay. And even if you are an ectomorph, a lot of those calories will be stored as body fat because the body can only take in so many calories, so many macronutrients at one given time. Okay. Think of it like a cup, right? If you put this cup under a running faucet and you leave it there, what's going to happen? Well, the water is going to overflow, right? So same thing with calories. If you're getting in too many calories, calories going to overflow, they're going to be wasted. And a lot of times they're stored as body fat. Okay. This is a reason why a lot of people actually tend to get put on weight, especially body fat, as they get older, because portion sizes increase, activity levels decrease. Okay. So I wouldn't advise doing those shakes for that reason. Now, here's the thing. It's very difficult to get in a lot of calories through clean eating. Trust me, I know. So depending on the type of body type you are, and like I said, in this case, we're gonna go with the fact that you're an ectomorph. I generally recommend for my men and for my women who are ectomorphs who have a hard time putting on weight to have one cheat meal each day. Okay. And that cheat meal, you don't want it to be like crazy buffet, go to a Chinese buffet and go crazy, but like a burger and fries, 3 or 4 slices of pizza. Okay. Because even though those are what we call dirty calories, they will help get you into that caloric surplus a little bit easier, as opposed to just eating chicken breasts and rice, right? Because I can tell you, you have to eat a lot of chicken breasts and rice, a lot of omega-3 eggs, a lot of oatmeal to get into the type of calories that you need to get in order to bulk or put on muscle mass. Okay. So that's generally my recommendation for people who have a difficult time adding on weight, is to have one cheat meal, not 2, not 3, one cheat meal each day. Okay. And again, I'm always telling people too, when they have their cheat meals, make a smart choice. When I say burger and fries, I don't mean go have a shitty burger from McDonald's. Have a good burger. Go somewhere like maybe the Keg, somewhere where the food that they're cooking is somewhat actually cleaner in a sense. Like at least you're getting good quality meat as opposed to shitty fast food meat. Okay. So even when you're cheating, be strategic. Okay. I can't stress this enough, because so many times when I've worked with people in the past, I say, okay, I want you to have a cheat meal. They'll go to like Dairy Queen and have like a Blizzard. I'm like, no, that's not what I mean by have a cheat meal. I mean, go and have a good burger and fries, maybe some yam fries and good, clean, like organic meat. Okay. On a bun. Right. So it is somewhat cleaner, somewhat healthier. You still want to be somewhat healthy. You don't just want to let your diet go to shit. But that's what I find works for most people I work with who have a difficult time adding on weight. One cheat meal per day. Okay. And that should work. And also, don't forget, look at your diet. Look at your diet as a whole. Are you really eating to the best of your ability? If you're finding that you're trying to force feed yourself, maybe you have too much fats in your diet that are keeping you feeling fuller for a longer period of time. In that case, I recommend maybe cutting back your fats and increasing your carbohydrates. Okay, so there's all kinds of little strategies that you can implement into your plan to help you bulk or put on weight. But again, that will come down to the individual. And for me to answer this question more specifically for you and tailor the program specifically for you, I need to know your diet. So if you're interested in working with me on your nutritional plan, you can always email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or DM me on my Instagram, @fitcosgrove_. And I'm happy to set up a nutritional plan for you that will be customized specifically for you, for your body type, your lifestyle, and your goals. Okay. Nick, I've been working with a trainer online and I'm constantly hungry while on her diet plan. I told her this and she tells me it's normal and to just push through the hunger. Do you recommend your clients do the same when they complain about hunger pangs? No. So you can talk to any client I've ever worked with on a nutritional plan, whether it's a mass gaining plan or a cutting program. And one of the things I tell every single person I work with is, if you start to experience severe hunger pangs, you need to reach out to me right away. Okay. So you need to email me, you need to text me, and we need to fix the diet because something's wrong. So will there be times on a diet plan where you might experience a little bit of hunger? Sure. But if it's constant and you're constantly feeling hungry and your energy levels are low, that is a poor nutritional plan. Okay. And in this case, it's up to the trainer or the nutritionist, the dietitian, to tweak the program accordingly so that they can offer the best program for the person they are working with. They can troubleshoot. This is why you're hiring an expert. If I have a client that says to me, Nick, I just have no energy. I feel so hungry throughout the day. My stomach is constantly rumbling and I'm actually in pain. Then I say, okay, well, you know what? If they're hungry, what's going to happen? Their energy levels drop. Now they can't sleep properly, right? Now they can't train properly. So as their trainer, for me, it's not going to help the person lose more weight. If anything, they're going to hit a plateau. So I need to troubleshoot and say, okay, I need to give this person more food. Now, does that mean I'm going to give them 3 extra cups of rice? No. This could easily be something like, maybe I'm going to give them an extra tablespoon of peanut butter in 2 of their shakes, right? It could be maybe I'm going to give them an extra like 2 or 3 scoops of protein powder in 2 of their shakes. Some cases it might be, yeah, you know what, I need to increase their carbs a little bit. But it's important to try different scenarios. And again, it depends on the individual, because some people respond better to higher fat, low carb diets. Other people respond better to lower fat, high carb diets, right? So again, it depends if you're working with man, woman, age, lifestyle, how often they're in a gym, how often that they're, what type of job they have. All these things come into play. So again, when you're implementing a nutritional plan, it's important to get this information from your client so that you can program accordingly. And when you hit problems like this, you can troubleshoot, or when you hit plateaus, you can troubleshoot, okay? So this is why I always tell people it's really important to work with a trainer or dietitian or nutritionist that can program specifically for you, okay? Don't just follow a generic copy and paste program that you can follow online. That will work for a short period of time, but once you hit that plateau, like you have here, what do you do? Okay. So I don't agree with your trainer that this is normal. I do think it's good to be somewhat hungry throughout the day and never be completely full, especially if you are following a weight loss program. But honestly, if this hunger is affecting your performance in the gym, it's affecting your sleep, the diet is not sound. There's something wrong with the diet. It needs to be revised. It needs to be tweaked. It needs to be changed. Okay. And this is where it comes down to working with a dietitian or nutritionist trainer that can program specifically for you. So my recommendation is if you're still feeling like this and your trainer is not willing to make adjustments, it might be time for you to leave that trainer and work with someone else. Because I can tell you right now, if you're constantly hungry on a program, you're not going to last on it. You won't. You're going to get fed up. Okay. You're going to find that you just have no energy and you're going to want to stop. And when you stop, you're going to stop seeing results. So my recommendation, switch up your diet, talk to your trainer again. And if she doesn't want to make the changes, start looking for a new trainer. All right. Next question. Nick, it seems like more and more bodybuilders are dying every day now at young ages. Do you think this is due to the extreme training and eating bodybuilders have to do in order to get big? Personally, no, I don't think that's the reason, because listen, I mean, I train every day. Okay. The only time I take a day off is when I literally cannot fit in a workout in my day. Especially right now, going through this move, trying to run a business, have trades coming in my house all day, plumbers, electricians, movers, delivery people. So trying to organize that, sometimes it's difficult for me to fit in that workout, right? But I train every day when I can. I eat a lot of food. I eat anywhere from 8 to 10 meals a day. Small meals, but I eat 8 to 10 meals a day. I go for physicals once a year. My blood work, I get done twice a year. Everything comes out optimal, no problems. So I don't think it has to do with the diet. I don't think it has to do with the training. I think it has to do with the drugs. And I think it has to do with the amount of drugs that these guys are using these days. You take Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example. You take those guys from his era, the 70s, the 80s, that era, they call it the golden era of bodybuilding. Those physiques looked amazing. Those guys were not pushing the envelope. Jesus, a growth hormone wasn't even around back then. So guys were not, they're not experimenting with different things that the guys today are doing. Okay. And on top of that, you've got things like SARMs today, in addition to the PEDs. And who knows? Like, we don't even know the long-term effects of these SARMs. Okay. You got people going with crazy amounts of growth hormone, implementing anywhere from 9 to 12 IU per day of growth hormone. That's going to cause some issues, especially on your organs. So in my opinion, the reason we see a lot of these bodybuilders dying in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s is because they're pushing the envelope too much. They're trying to get too big too soon. And unfortunately, that's the society we live in these days, right? Everyone wants the instant results. Instagram, instant gratification. Nobody wants to, I shouldn't say nobody, but a large percentage of the population don't want to put in the work and take the time that it's necessary to build that foundation, right? I mean, I've been training for 20 years. I'm not massive, but everything I built naturally. And so I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to lose it. The only way I'll lose it is if I stop training for maybe a year. But if I take a week or 2 weeks off, I'm not going to lose my physique. Where a lot of these guys, if they come off their steroid cycles, they will lose most of their gains because they can't train without the steroids. They become so reliant on these steroid cycles. I know guys who, when they're not on steroids, they come off their cycles for, let's say, 2 months, 3 months. They don't even go to the gym and they eat whatever they want. And to me, like, that's not healthy. That's not smart. And that's completely the opposite of what bodybuilding is about. Bodybuilding is about building your body, becoming healthier, becoming more fit. You're doing something good for your body. And unfortunately, guys like this and women, they've given a very dark negative stigma to bodybuilding as a whole. Bodybuilding is very healthy. Okay. But bodybuilding on huge amounts of anabolic steroids can become very dangerous. And this is why we're seeing a lot of bodybuilders dying at such young ages. So it's not because of diet, it's not because of training. Okay, it's because of the abuse of PEDs, performance enhancement drugs, the abuse of SARMs, okay, and also, in my opinion, the abuse of growth hormone, because that stuff, especially growth hormone, that wasn't around in the 70s and 80s. And if you look at the guys from, as I mentioned, Arnold's era, those guys were using very, very small doses. And that's why a lot of them are still alive today. They're in their 80s and they're still alive. They're still healthy because they didn't abuse the drugs. So I think that's the problem we're seeing now. And hopefully with the younger generation coming up, they're learning from the mistakes that the guys my age, a little bit younger than me, are making right now. And they're saying, you know what, we got to smarten up. We got to go back to that old school approach that, yeah, it's going to take longer. Okay. You're not going to look like a freak at 21 years old. You shouldn't look like a freak at 21 years old. It should take time. If you are going down the route of using anabolic steroids, do it responsibly. Cycle on, cycle off. Make sure you're working with someone, a coach that can help you, guide you, get your blood work done on a regular basis. This is all crucial. If you're not doing any of this and you're taking steroids, who knows what's going on inside? And yeah, you could easily have a heart attack at 34 years old. It's actually quite common now with bodybuilders. So again, I don't think it has anything to do with training. I don't think it has anything to do with diet. I think it's purely the amount of drugs that the guys are using today. All right. Nick, I'm having a really hard time training in the heat. I feel as if I'm moving slower and lifting lighter in the gym. My gym doesn't have AC, so it can get brutally hot at times. Do you have any suggestions that would help making working out in the summer easier? Yeah, a few. First would be change the time of day you're training, right? So if you're someone who trains, let's say midday, well, that's usually the hottest part of the day. So if you can, try to get in the gym earlier in the day. So for me, for example, in the summer, I try to get my training done at like 5 a.m. in the morning. The reason I do that, it's still cool outside. It's not super hot. So I find like, yeah, my gym has AC, but it still gets hot in there. So, and it even gets hotter throughout the day. So I find the best time for me, if I can get in there at 5 a.m., get in a workout, 6 a.m., get in a workout, it's nice and cool. It feels great. And I have more energy. Okay. So that's one way. Another thing is make sure that you have a lot of electrolytes on hand. So that's that product I recommend called Extend. It's a BCA product. It's full of electrolytes. You don't have to take that product. You can take Gatorade. Just make sure you're taking the sugar-free Gatorade or the Powerade Zero because you don't need all that additional sugar, but that stuff still has electrolytes. Or you can just add electrolytes to your water. Okay? They're tasteless. You can order off Amazon. I have quite a few clients who just order those. So that will help keep you hydrated, okay? Because you're right, it is really difficult to train in the heat. And one of the reasons a lot of people find it difficult to train in the heat, it's not just because it's hot, it's because they're dehydrated. So the more hydrated you are, the better you're going to be with your performance in the gym. So another thing I typically do, especially this time of year, before I even get in the gym at 5 or 6 in the morning, I chug down a liter of water. So I know my body's hydrated and I feel good, okay? But if I'm not doing that, I will feel weak and it will make it more difficult to train. Okay. So my recommendation is stay hydrated, change up your time of day of training, whether it's early in the morning or maybe later on in the evening when it's a little bit cooler outside, and add some electrolytes to your water just to make sure you are staying hydrated. Because don't forget, electrolytes, what they'll do is they'll actually help you hold on to water. If you're drinking water, like that's great, but adding the electrolytes, that will be even better. Okay. Because you're going to hold on to that water that you sweat out. Okay. And when you're working out, especially in the heat, you sweat a lot, right? So the electrolytes help with that. So that's my recommendation. Okay. So get some electrolytes, stay hydrated, change up your time of day from training early in the morning or later on in the evening. And those three factors should help you get through the summer months. Okay. Because you're right. It can be pretty brutal to train in the heat. Okay. Okay, a few more questions. Nick, I'm doing my first bodybuilding show at the end of July and was just wondering if you have any last minute tips that can help enhance my physique and improve my placing. I have no last minute tips. If you're not ready on the last week or even 2 weeks before your show, you're not ready. You should, I always tell every client I work with for their bodybuilding show or they're doing classic physique or bikini or figure, we need you to be ready 2 weeks out. The last 2 weeks before the show should be the easiest time. When I used to compete for shows the last 2 weeks, I would actually cut back my cardio. I would decrease my training intensity. I would increase my food. Okay, because I was ready. I didn't have to suffer any longer. I didn't have to go into a severe caloric, deprivation. I didn't have to do hours of cardio because I was ready beforehand. Okay. Now, of course, this comes with practice. The more shows you do, you get to learn your body and you say, okay, I need 18 weeks to prepare for a show. I need 24 weeks to prepare for a show. Or if you're like me, you need 4 to 5 weeks to prepare for a show. So everyone's different, right? But the longer you train, the more and more you get to know your body. You're more in tune with your body, so you get to know it works. Okay, so all these last minute tricks with water manipulation and diuretics and supersets, drop sets, giant sets, listen, it's all nonsense. Okay, those things have their place for sure. I mean, I do giant sets, I do drop sets, I do circuits of clients, but not to enhance their physique 2 days out before a show. I just do that in general because I think they're great to include year round. Just like I think it's important to follow a sound nutritional plan year round, right? Just like I think it's important to follow a consistent, intense training program year round. No magic tricks the last few days or a few weeks before a show. So I don't have anything to tell you. The only thing I will tell you though, and this is where it does get a little tricky for people, and this is why I do offer last week contest prep advice for clients who maybe can't afford to work with a coach, but they do want that extra help for the last week, is when it comes to carbohydrate manipulation, that's a different story. Because if you are ready for a show, and let's say you're a guy who's at 5% body fat, well, if you manipulate your carbs properly, that can make a huge difference in your physique, right? But when it comes to water, I pretty much keep water consistent. I might drop water. Let's say when I'm having someone doing 4 liters of water a day leading up to a show, the day before a show, I might drop that down to 1 liter. And the day of the show, I might just have them sip on water. But the only thing I really change for people is carbohydrate intake. I don't do anything with sodium. I really don't do much with water. I don't do anything with training. The only thing I tell people is if they're training for a show that's on Saturday, I have them stop training on a Thursday. So the last 2 days before they train, I don't have them do anything. And a lot of people, especially first timers, they get really confused with that. They're like, well, shouldn't I be training leading up to the show? Aren't I going to look bigger? I'm like, no, you need your body to be rested and relaxed. Okay, because when we train, we put stress on our body. Our bodies grow outside the gym. So I always tell clients when they're getting ready for a Saturday show, your last workout is going to be on Wednesday, and then I don't want you doing anything. And when it comes to their leg day, if their show is on a Saturday, I want them to do their last leg workout on a Saturday before. So 1 week of no legs. Okay, because your legs will look fuller, they'll look more defined, they'll look more vascular because you're allowing your body to rest, hydrate, eat, and that's how you want to look when you get on stage. You don't want to be looking like you're all stressed and stringy and scrawny and flat on stage because you've been doing too much. Okay, so it's almost like you want to take the less is best approach the last week or two before a show. If you have questions on last week contest prep, it is a service that I do offer. You can email me again, nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or DM me on my Instagram, and I give you some more information on that. I work with a lot of people who really don't know what to do in the last week, and it can be confusing, especially for your first time around. And I understand, you kind of get diet brain, you don't know what you're doing. And especially if you're working on your own and not with a coach, it can be a little stressful. So it's a great service to use. And it's a service that I offer, service I've been offering for the past 16 years. There is some troubleshooting that goes into it, but mainly it's just carbohydrate manipulation. I do a bit of manipulation with fats as well, keep protein pretty consistent, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. Because like I said, that can make a big difference between a first and third placing in a show. So that would be the only thing I look at is the carbohydrate manipulation personally. All right. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. Nick, I saw your IG story and was wondering why you sold your place and bought a new place with interest rates being so high right now and the market being so unstable. Okay, good question. Well, the last time I did this was actually during the financial crisis when everyone told me, don't sell your place. This is the worst time to sell your place. You're not going to get market value, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to sell a place in a low market where it's a buyer's market, you're going to move up as well because you're going to buy whatever you're buying is also going to be lower cost, right? So regardless of what interest rates are, you're still going to move up. Now you're going to move up even more if you've got capital to put down. Okay. So in my case, I did have some capital to put down. So having the mortgage rates didn't really have any impact on me whatsoever. So even though I sold my last place, I don't want to say a loss because I made a profit for sure. I made a great profit on it, but I probably got less than I would get, let's say, when interest rates are lower, because it is a buyer's market right now. The place I moved into, I got for a lot lower as well. So it's all relative, right? So I've never really let mortgage rates affect my decision when it comes to real estate, especially because I've always believed in having diversifying my investments. So if I could pull money out of my portfolio, pull money out of my business line of credit, whatever it is, to allow myself to move forward as opposed to lateral, right? Or even worse, go down. So I had a lot of people ask me that when they saw my IG story that I had sold and put my place on the market. And a lot of people asked me, like, why are you selling right now? It's a terrible time to sell. I'm like, well, if it's a terrible time to sell, it's a great time to buy, right? And a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people just panic and, they follow the crowd and they go, oh, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to hold tight. One of the best moves I ever made in real estate was actually during the financial crisis. As I said, everyone told me at the time, do not sell. It's the worst time to sell. Well, I sold low, I bought low, and the place I bought low, I flipped in 14 months and sold for a ridiculous amount. I almost doubled my profit in 14 months. So it's always, not always, but it's thinking kind of outside the box and going against the grid. So if everyone's going one direction, I typically like to go in the other direction. Say, well, let's try this. I'm okay with taking risks. I don't have kids, so I can take risks. I only have to worry about myself. I feel like I made a good choice. I'll be putting up a video of the place that I moved into in the next few weeks once it's all finished. It's much bigger. It's much higher up. I have more room now in my office. I can actually create a studio for the Q&A now. So it was a good move in my opinion. Okay. Was it a risky move? Probably. But in my opinion, again, you're not going to get anywhere in life unless you take risks. And if you're constantly listening to what everyone else is telling you to do, and you're always trying to play that safe, I want to be safe, I want to be safe. That's great. That works for some people. But in my opinion, you can't really move forward if you're constantly being safe and comfortable. You have to be a little uncomfortable. Same thing I tell people in the gym. I'm like, listen, you can't be comfortable in here. If you want results, if you want abs, if you want to build your arms, you cannot be comfortable. You have to work. Okay. It's going to be hard work. Okay. You have to put in the time. You have to be consistent. Because if you're not, don't even bother. Don't even bother. It's like when that saying when it says there's no such thing as a bad workout. That's not true. I see a lot of shitty workouts. I see a lot of people going to the gym and sitting on their phone, sitting on a bench, playing on their phone for 1 hour. That's a bad workout. Don't even bother, right? So that's why I did that move in real estate, because I figured, yeah, not the best time to sell, great time to buy. This is a buying season. So, the place I purchased recently, easily in a good market where interest rates are low, would have gone for about 700-800K more. Okay. So it was a great time to buy. So we'll find out in a few years if this was a great move for me or if it was a bad move for me. Either way, I took the risk. It was a risk I was willing to take. It was a calculated risk, and we'll see if it pays off. All right. Last question. Nick, would you be open to training more group classes again? I understand that you're only teaching one class a week now and are doing more personal training sessions instead. I would like to come back to your group classes, but would like to come to classes where you are the instructor. Thanks, Nick. Okay, so you're right. I'm no longer teaching group classes. I'm currently just teaching the one group class each week at our downtown facility. It's the leg class at 8:15 a.m. Saturday mornings. And the reason I did that move is because I had a lot of clients, especially new clients, really reaching out for private training sessions and a few partner training sessions as well with their spouse or their friend. So I had an increase in demand for those types of services. Now the group classes are still on. If you go on our website, our group classes are still on. We have 24 group classes a week at the downtown location. And I believe we have, I think 16 at our Burnaby location. Don't quote me on that, but I think we have 16 on our Burnaby location. So we have quite a bit of classes. We're offering 40 classes a week. No, I'm not the instructor of those classes, but we have got some great instructors. I mean, we've got Sarah and Charlene downtown, and we have Michael and Burnaby. They're all excellent instructors. They're following the programs that I've put together over the years for my group classes. So they're following those programs to a T. Now, if you are interested in working with me in a group class setting, my recommendation is reach out to me. And what I can try to do is I can try to find a few other clients that are interested in putting into like a semi-group session. So instead of doing a class of, let's say, 8 to 10 people, we find 3 or 4 people, and we can find a time slot for those people to all work together. But I didn't do that just because I wanted to abandon the group classes. I love training groups. I really do. But I was getting an increase in demand of people wanting to do private sessions with me this was especially since COVID, where we weren't allowed to do group classes. So that landscape kind of changed more. And some people that were doing group classes, even though group classes are more cost effective, when we were no longer able to offer group classes, a lot of people went over to private training and partner training, which is a little bit more expensive, but they saw the benefits in it. And they're like, yeah, you know what? I kind of prefer this more because I'm getting more individual attention. I'm getting more correction on my form and my technique, and the workouts are a little bit more customized for me. Because let's face it, and I'll be completely transparent here, I cannot customize a program for 10 people, right? I am giving you a very generic program. However, I'm trying my best to provide instruction to everyone in that class to the best of my ability. But if you're one trainer and 10 clients, unfortunately, you're not going to get that one-on-one service. And this is why I've always been against these massive group classes of 30 plus people. That to me is a complete waste of money. Unless you're going purely for the accountability, it's a waste of money, because there's no way that one instructor can correct your form and technique. Don't even bother. So if you're someone who's new to the gym, that to me is a complete waste of money to even bother going to a group class. I don't care if it's like $10 drop in, you're wasting $10. So I've always been under I've always followed the guideline of, I want to do something, I want to offer a service that I'd be comfortable paying for. I wouldn't want to pay for a service where I have 30 people in a class. I would be willing to pay for a service, though, that maybe there's 10 people in a class. Yeah, I'm not going to get that same one-on-one instruction, but I am going to get more instruction because there's only 10 of us as opposed to 30 of us, right? And then there's people, like I said, who now want to do private or semi-private, so they get even more instruction. So you really get more value for your money when you go into smaller group classes or into private or partner sessions, especially if you are trying to make significant results with your physique, okay? So would I come back to teaching group classes? Absolutely. If there's a demand and I have, 3 or 4 people who want to work with me in a small setting, we can put that together. The best thing to do, though, is to reach out to me through email, nick@foreverfitperformance.com. Let me know what your schedule looks like. Let me know what you're looking to do. And I can send out an email to a roster of clients and say, hey, I have someone here who's looking to split the cost of training, 3 or 4 people. This is the rate. Anyone interested? Honestly, that's how I put together a lot of my partner sessions. A lot of people I train in partner sessions, they didn't even know each other, but they're like, hey, you know what? I want to work with you more, but I can't afford private training. Do you have someone that I could maybe pair up with and we can split the cost? I do. So it works. But the only way to find out is if you actually contact me. Okay, so contact me, nick@foreverfitperformance.com, DM me on my Instagram, @fitcosgrove_, and we can definitely try to set something up for you, okay? Because I never want to close my doors to anyone. I always want to help everyone I possibly can, whether it be in the gym or online. I work 7 days a week. So this is my life. This is what I do. I help people transform their physiques, improve their health, okay? I take great pride in my work, and I always want to help everyone I possibly can to the best of my ability. Now, unfortunately, I can't spread myself out 24 hours a day, but that is why we do have other trainers who are excellent trainers that can really help as well in the gym. And my recommendation to anyone who is a little bit skeptical of working with our trainers, come and try a free group class. We won't even charge you. Just try a group class with them. You don't like it? You're not risking anything. That's fine. So I always tell that. I told that to a lot of my clients who did do my group classes, right? And when they transitioned to working with Michael or Charlene or Sarah, a lot of times it was a little difficult for some people. I'm like, try a class for free. You don't like it? You don't risk anything. No loss. Can't lose anything if it's free. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Saturday, July 13th, which I know is a little unorthodox. We usually put the Q&As out on Monday, but I am a week and a half behind schedule, and I hate being behind schedule. So I want to get right back on track with these. And hoping to get another Q&A out later on this week, because like I said, I'm one behind right now. So got to stay consistent, just like in the gym, just like in the diet, you got to stay consistent. So hoping to get another one out this week to you. Anyway, as a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or DM me your questions at my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.